Hello, this is Matt from That Time We Woke Up in a Podcast and Had to Explain Manga. Our heated adventures overanalyzing manga we find interesting. Otherwise known as the Over Manga Cast. This episode I really tried to think outside of the box for a good bit, but I just couldn't figure out the right angle. So anyway, back to square one. This week we read Kekkaishi by Yellow Tanabe, chapters 1-19. And while this is only a small sample of her volume of work, I think it at least puts you in the right area. Basically a little bit of an A to XYZ, if you will. Anyway, don't be a square. Enjoy the episode.
Hello everyone, my name is Sam, and welcome once again to the Over Manga Cast. As always, at the top of the show, we like to discuss our familiarity with the franchise that we read this week. This actually comes as a request from one of our fans. This is coming from Firebringer of Germany. Thank you very much for the recommendation. We are happy to have gotten to read Kekkaishi this week. As for me, I had not heard of this one. I understand that it did have an anime during the Toonami Adult Swim days, but I do not remember ever having actually seen it. I think the most I ever watched it back in those days was, Yu-Gi-Oh! So that was about that for me. How about you, Jake?
I also managed to actually miss Kekkaishi when it was on it was either Adult Swim or when, Toonami came back for late night. So I actually hadn't heard of this. I was actually kind of surprised to hear that this had been on that programming block because I must have just barely missed it because there was a long while where I was keeping up with that stuff. I was just right at the perfect age for it, but this was absolutely ships passing in the night. First time I've ever experienced it.
All right. How about you, Jay?
Sure. So, glad you led with the fact that Kekkaishi was an anime because I was first introduced via that said anime. I watched it on Adult Swim. For I want to say I think I completed the first season of Kekkaishi. So, yeah, that's how I was first introduced, and I remember really enjoying it.
All right. And Matt.
And yeah, like a few others have said, all I knew about Kekkaishi was it was on Adult Swim back in the summer of 2010. So unfortunately, that was about the age I kind of dipped away from watching Adult Swim pretty religiously. So I vaguely remember. I think actually I watched the anime up until the end of our reading. I think is about where the thing is. So this is the first time I've read the manga.
You mentioning it being around 2010, that explains why. That was about the time I dropped watching late night anime almost like a stone, so.
That'll do it.
Yep.
We open up our tale with one Yoshimori Sumimura. And there's lots of names that rhyme in this, and that's going to get real confusing for me real quick. He is a young man with a strange responsibility, as he is the latest in a line of Kekkaishi, who are
spirit mediums, basically.
Spirit mediums, yeah, like warrior priests that deal with the Ayakashi, malignant spirits that threaten people. After we're given a brief rundown of the long ago legend that's first started this tradition for his family, we see him in the middle of said mission chasing a weird butterfly thing through a school at night.
Yes, and he does battle with these evil spirits with the power of cubes.
Yes, the cubes. He has the ability to summon these kind of spirit barrier cubes around things and subsequently kind of collapse the cube to destroy it.
Or release it.
This is basically the segment where we are established to what will be the status quo going forward, which is going to fight an Ayakashi. Yoshi is with his demon doggo friend. Or friend is probably a strong word.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually have a relationship. They have a established agreement with Sumimura family.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Madara is the demon dog that were to sniff out the Ayakashi so that they can be destroyed. And we also get established the pattern of everybody being an asshole to poor Yoshimura.
Well, if he were only better.
I will say, especially there was one line, and I don't remember exactly where it was. It's a relatively inconsequential line, but it solidified a thing for me. This manga does show its age a little bit because it has one of the things that's established is that he has a mark on his palm that designates him as the destined successor of the clan, and he doesn't want to be that. Screw you, do your destiny, person. You don't have the autonomy. And that's a cultural thing that I very much disagree with. So, not to say that it made me not like Kekkaishi. It's one of those ones where I think that the series to some extent agrees with with Yoshimori's grandpa, and I very much don't. Especially when in one chapter it was a totally inconsequential line, but he says in passing, like it was like, "Hey, you're so old, you shouldn't be eating so much salty food. I'll live the rest of my life the way I want." Ooh, that I do not like the grandpa. It didn't reduce my enjoyment of the series, but I mean, maybe a tiny bit, because again, I think the series actually agrees with him, but not not in a serious degree.
Grandpa's such a dick.
I don't agree that the series agrees with the grandpa. I think the series puts the grandpa in a grouchy old man.
Yeah, that's true. It's really more that the Yoshimori never had a choice is where it agrees with the grandpa, and I don't like that. But it does make fun of him, and you are supposed to not like him. So
yeah, and
that's why I say it's the minorest of niggles.
It kind of briefly touches on Reluctant Hero. But like that's only in the flashback is the thing.
Yeah.
When we do the time skip, he has resolved that no, this is something I have the power to like affect.
He does accept the mantle willingly. It's just it shows its age a little bit, and I had to point that out. So
this opening chapter is a flashback when Yoshimori was very much against this whole destiny thing, which, I can get behind. It's going through, basically, again, establishing what's going to be the pattern going forward. He's training with his barrier powers, like by having a bucket of water on top of the cube that he has produced around himself. This is also where we are introduced to one of the running plot lines, which is there are actually two families of Kekkaishi masters, and they both hate each other.
Yes, so essentially the Karasumori was entrusted to, I believe they reference like it was their great ancestor or great leader, and it was at one time they were one family until they had a disagreement and separated out.
If I remember right, it was the original Kekkaishi guy. I can't remember the term. The original master.
Yeah, the original master had no kids.
Yeah, he had no heirs, so his two students were his inheritors, but neither of them was
willing to share.
Was willing to share or designated as the true inheritor, at least as far as we're aware. So of course, both of them say that they are, and the other one can go to hell. And their lines have kept up that grudge ever since.
There is some strong Hatfield and McCoys. Like, these two people have houses that have their backyards touching each other. They share a fence. And
they're obviously not going to move to a new location because that would be yielding.
Also, I think it doesn't actively say this. I'm pretty sure both of their houses border the school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the kids take the longest way possible to school.
I don't know if it's that it directly borders it or if that's just the traditional training grounds, which was a little ways away. Because the one thing that we get in the backstory is that the Kekkaishi master was at the castle every day because the lord of the castle had inherent magical powers, and so that's why he had to like exorcise the Ayakashi. They're functionally like somewhere between demons and spirits, but the Ayakashi were attracted to the Lord's power. So one day he got sick and wasn't able to come back, and it sort of implies to me that there's like a little bit of a trip between that location and the castle, which is where the school was built over.
Mm-hmm.
but the Lord's power lingers, which is why it's still ongoing.
Kind of like
Yep.
being a beacon or a medium. Spirits are drawn to mediums just for existing and having this extreme power to be able to communicate.
Yep.
This manga does a lot of world building to justify the fiction of two children play with invisible barriers at the school playground at night when there's no adults around. And I'm like, that's well, because like even the Kekkaishi, the spirit barriers they use, that's a thing children do, it's like a game kind of. Not really. It's not quite, but like it's that level of like, I've got an invisible barrier.
Yeah.
So you take that and then you just add real threats and then you justify, why are these people going to a school every night? Well, that's because that used to be the castle of the Lord, and that it's like, yeah, okay,
I wonder what they tell the local children, because obviously this is something that probably was the foundation of their town or city. So it's like, are they just now legends, and that's, tied to their family name, and are they aware of the family dispute? I didn't get a sense that they even were, that the outside, like the teachers or even the students were aware of.
So
yeah, they mostly try to hide it from people. Most of it's invisible to most people. And they try to hide the shenanigans that happen so as not to create panic.
But I mean, they could at least connect them to they have shrine keepers. So I mean, they could at least explain that, oh, these two families have an ongoing dispute over, I don't know, be able to.
And that probably is going on, but that's not what the story cares about, because the story cares about monster of the week, cool fights in the
Yeah, that was kind of missing for me, because I was just like, how are they explaining this to these kids? This is a very significant area, and yes, it has some historical significance that was hundreds of years old, but it's just kind of interesting the fact that these families have obviously been here for generations and generations, had these disputes, had this somewhat weird duty and responsibility going out at night, but there's no recognition of any type of rumor or story about it. That was kind of glaring absence of that.
I don't know. They do enough to establish there's some weird shadowy shenanigans going on. And then they also kind of justify, don't give people a reason to think anything of it, and they'll just kind of turn the other cheek, because it's like, it's a private school. It's and from someone who doesn't have spiritual powers, they're going to see someone running around in monk clothes at night, waving a staff in the air. Like, okay.
Yeah, okay, it's just some weirdo. Yoshimori even says at one point, well, for me, the unusual has become so commonplace that it's just normal to me now. And I guess if you go to school there every day, even the slight abnormal things that happen, like cherry blossoms flowering in winter, per se, would just sort of be like, oh yeah, that's just a weird thing that happens here. It's happened enough that I'm numb to it.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've kind of...
Yeah, we've digressed.
But so basically, the first bit is a jump to the past. We get two very young children. I think...
They're like 9 and 11.
Yeah, the girl's in 8th grade, I remember. So he must be in 5th, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I think he's 2 years younger.
He's 2 years younger, 3 grades lower, I think.
Yeah.
And so basically they're rivals, and these two very young children are on a solo mission to go to the school and fight the demons that come there, because the demons are drawn to the power, and basically as long as they're on the school grounds, they are absorbing power and getting stronger. And for the most part, it's very mundane.
This can be pretty rapid growth. It's
well,
it's usually not, but for plot purposes, the interesting ones are the ones where it does go quickly.
In the legend, though, what they said was he was sick for 3 days, and that was enough time for demons to overrun the entire castle ground and kill everyone. So it's fast growth for all things on that. It's just some things are faster than others.
Right.
Yeah. And even if it was a fairly slow, basically EXP funnel, free EXP is free EXP. Stuff's going to show up to snack on it. But
anyway, these two children are playing with magic powers, killing demons, when suddenly big demon come out and they got to fight bigger demon.
The big element that happens is that Yoshimori, the demon, takes on the image of a little girl even younger than him, like with a bad wound on her side and is saying, "Oh, I just came here because I was drawn here. I didn't know what I was doing," and it causes him to hesitate long enough for the transformation to take hold. And his childhood friend, despite the fact that she's from the other family,
turned rival.
Tokine got injured. He had to carry her back, which good on you, 9-year-old.
She's slightly taller than he is, so that's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she's also down because either from blood loss or potentially some sort of demon venom, she's passed out from the attack she suffered.
Yeah. This injury is definitely, like, the way she behaves is much deeper than what we see, because it's like just a quick blow and then she falls off panel.
It's one of those ones where this is she is bleeding quite a bit, and it does kind of seem like, you know, she like faded out. So I think that's what it's supposed to imply, but also it's not exactly that severe. So
the scar she has post time skip, like at the end of this chapter, it shows she's got like a scar she keeps hidden under an arm wrap. Like, it's a pretty bad wound.
Yeah.
There's a line at some point where, you know, the Sumimuras are checking on her, on how she's doing, and the line is like, she's got a high fever. Maybe she was overwhelmed by the miasma of the Ayakashi. It's like, it's bad vibes got on its claws, and
we needed her passed out so we could have the dramatic scene of him carrying her back to her house.
And if it isn't obvious by now, they're being shipped to like really hard.
I didn't get that. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh, I'm getting strong childhood best friends.
Childhood best friends.
Yeah.
Now our families don't like it, and I want to go back to where we were friends and we cared about each other and they have each other's back. And
I'm getting annoying little brother vibes, in all honesty.
that's how it starts.
So that's how she's like avoiding the feelings so that we can maintain the romantic tension for however many chapters.
Is it just because she's a little older than him that you're like seeing those little brother vibes and not as they go?
Also, the following her to school each day.
I mean, he's not following her. They just have to go to the same entrance, man.
What? But no, he is.
He is totally following her in addition. Though the reason he's following her is because he's being overprotective because she got injured helping him once.
Yeah.
There is absolutely like a sibling element to their relationship.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and as Jacob will go to the couch for, every time there's a sibling relationship, it must be romantic.
Why did I get ascribed to that?
That's the alternative channel that we will not speak of.
The sort of like childhood best friends, platonic feelings for each other develop into romantic. That's also the thing showing its age, but also I like that trope, so I'm not going to complain about that one.
I'll wager Yoshi in particular has one scene I will concede he's got romantic feelings that he is not able to process, because he even goes like, why did I imagine that? Like, what did my brain just do there? That's
weird.
But yeah, so basically the takeaway from this though is he was kind of hesitant as a child about, well, he's still a child, as a 9-year-old about wanting to like be a Kekkaishi and everything. But after seeing her get hurt, he rededicated himself to it, and he still has other things he wants to do, but this being his job is something he wants because
he doesn't want to let someone else get hurt again because he has the power to stop it.
Which is another trope in and of itself, but
yeah,
he is accepted circumstance and will now move towards a more healthy work-life balance, as we all should.
Healthy work-life balance, huh?
He's working towards it.
He's certainly trying. Everyone else in his life is not.
Hey, his dad is a great support.
His dad is great.
Yeah, Yoshi's dad married into the family, so he is not of the bloodline that can produce the barriers. So
he is not affected by the he's not affected by the barriers, can't see spirits or ghosts or anything like that. He's just enjoying life.
Yeah, he's just, living life. His wife doesn't come home much anymore. That's all we really get told about her. But she is alive.
I was so convinced she was dead, but we're later told that she is not dead.
Mm-hmm.
She's basically dead, unfortunately.
Until she shows up on panel, and even then, she
Yes.
might still be a ghost.
It is
Yeah.
pretty funny that they basically have the exact same setup between the two households, where one of them is a grandmother, a daughter, and
Dead father who's in the magical world, and the other one is grandfather, son, and missing mother who's in the magical world.
I also like how their dogs are opposite. The
Yeah.
female white dog is with the people who wear the black monk's robes, and the male black dog is with the...
Totally didn't arrange that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like-
no, I mean, I bet you at some point there's going to be a reveal that the master always wanted those two families to be one family and designed them with the express purpose of being two parts of the same whole, and it ended up being Hatfield's and McCoy's instead, because of course it did.
I was just about to say the opposite, Jacob. I was going to say, if you want to have a demon hunting clan stay unified, don't give them two diametrically opposed guardian spirits.
That's true.
They will naturally split.
I've also, I could honestly buy either. I could see that the truth was what Jake said, but also, the families have a very big competitive streak. Both of them do. So the master might have been like, if I make them rivals, then they'll keep pushing each other.
Yeah, I hadn't considered it until you mentioned it, Matt, but yeah, I feel either is probable.
Another thing I like is the family that Yoshi's a part of, I think is considered the more legitimate of the two successors for one reason or another. But their family is easily the worse off of the two, because Tokine's family has servants. And
Yeah.
a much nicer area, and so probably Grandpa did something.
Someone lagged off in the family finances.
Or hey, maybe Mom ran away with the family's money and left her husband housewife, the house
he's a house
husband.
husband. He is very proud of that, and he does a great job.
He really does. He is the most endearing of the side characters, and that's not even a particularly short list either.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's nice.
Making Yoshi's favorite foods, even though Grandpa doesn't like it. It's just like, but he likes it.
Well, he also makes Grandpa's favorite foods too. He's very fair to both of them, and to Yoshimori's little brother as well.
I like the characterization of the omelets too, because it's Yoshi and Grandpa just being like, I can't believe you made what he likes. This is garbage. If it's not a sweet omelet, who eats it? And the grandpa's just like, if it's not a savory omelet, it's clearly not worthy of a man. I'm like, you two have different opinions that are just refusing to concede the other can be right.
It's not even the fact that they have different opinions. That's fine. It's for no other reason than just
it's out of spite.
Yes.
I also like
because Dad would make two separate omelets for them.
He would, but he's making one because he needs to learn how to compromise. Also, my boy Yoshi constantly drinking coffee milk because he gets 4 hours of sleep a night.
Yep.
I'm so glad they informed me he takes a nap the second he gets home from school, because I was wondering, when does this boy sleep?
He doesn't.
He sleeps in class. That's when he sleeps.
Poor guy, because he also probably has homework and assignments, and it's like, when does he do those too? If he has to go take a nap immediately getting back home.
Yeah. But we're kind of talking about the family because, in all fairness, these couple of chapters really do a lot just to establish the relationship of everything. The main plot of this next little bit is Yoshi starts off a chapter expressing, hey, you know how I'm really cool and really powerful? Oh, we kind of skimmed over. Yoshi's got like an insane amount of spiritual power.
Yeah, it's
that gets mentioned frequently.
Where like main protagonist has tons of power but has difficulty harnessing it. And using it.
As mentioned, it shows its age. Not only the one time to its detriment, in my opinion.
Despite the fact he's super good at this, what he really wants to do is bake cake castles. And I'm like, okay.
Very specific ask, and I'm intrigued.
He doesn't want to just bake cakes. He wants to make cakes into castles.
I'm intrigued by this.
Man's got a dream. I respect it.
I love how this is revealed, because it's Yoshi being like, my plan is almost perfect. And then Grandpa's like practicing his calligraphy and then goes, what is this sweet aroma? Where's Yoshimori? Oh, he's in the kitchen. That ultra westernized boy! he practically kicks in the kitchen door. I'm putting an end to this! And then they battle with their barrier magic over the cake.
Oh, man. And then after that fight, he has to go to school. When he gets to school, we get another plot element thrown in that not only do they fight demons, they can also see ghosts. Because there is just a weird baker standing in the middle of a crowd of children, and no one can see him.
Everyone seems to be ignoring him. I actually really like this, both because it introduces a fun character in the Baker Ghost, and also because it's our first hint that, you know, the supernatural elements of this world extend just beyond, you know, this family and the Ayakashi that they fight. It's a subtle way of fleshing out the setting to be more than just the shenanigans that go on at this school.
I really do like how subtle that is too, because what he says is he's like, look, there's this woman, go to this address, go check it out. She's good at dealing with ghosts. That's not really what I do. I exterminate demons. If I'm dealing with you, you have messed up. She's much more gentle on this, and the guy's just like, well, I'm not a ghost, but and then heads off.
No, you totally are.
And like I really like, because I thought he was sending her to other girls' like grandma for some reason. No, this is just a separate person who handles ghosts, and I'm like, oh cool, this is some nice world building. I like this. This isn't our deal. We're not going to focus on this, but this exists in the world.
We don't even see the medium lady on panel, at least not in the reading that we did.
The ghost does leave because one thing that Yoshimori mentions is you were drawn here because you are supernatural, because you are a ghost. That's why you don't remember why you came here. It was the power that drew you. If you stick around, you will turn into a monster and I will have to destroy you, which you do not want. So please leave. And he's not able to convince the pastry or ghost that he is a ghost yet, but he's like, okay, I'll go to this address. You're really committed to this prank, kid, but whatever. And he meets the ghost later outside of a
bakery where they are both admiring the cakes.
Pastry or ghost has realized that, yes, I am indeed actually a ghost.
You know, I could wander off to the afterlife or whatever, but I mean, you're the only one who's actually talked. I'm just gonna hang around you for a while, kid. Go away!
I can fly now. This is fun.
I kind of never really did anything in my life, so I feel like just passing away is kind of a waste. Can I just hang out with you? No!
All right, I'm gonna go indulge being invisible and able to fly by peeping into changing rooms.
Of course.
Wait, hold on. You're a baker? Yeah? I want to be a baker. All right, you're going to help me with baking-related shenanigans. Just so long as you don't tell my grandpa, because he both does not like the baking and also would destroy you for being a ghost.
Yeah, we get the action set piece of this little bit is we get a more malicious ghost that at first Yoshimori thinks is his calling the pastry or ghost friend is a bit of a stretch at this point, but he thinks that's who it is, but it turns out it is actually Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
It is Mr. Salaryman from the stationery company who was fired for no reason. I worked there for 25 years and then they said I did nothing. Maybe I should get to cut people. And I'm like, buddy, what? Which, in all fairness, is Yoshi and Tokine's reaction is just like, buddy, no, that's dumb.
You should just go. No, I think I will start by cutting you up. And then they use their Kekkaishi magic to basically reduce him to just a floating head.
Which is Yoshi's decision to floating head him. Tokine was just like, he is an evil ghost who just threatened homicide. Yeah, no, he's getting dispersed. And Yoshi's just like, no, he could be a good guy. And Tokine's just like, well, no, the power here is inherently corrupting. I don't think you fully understand, but he could be a good guy. And so it's like, I do appreciate how empathetic you are. Yeah, sure, whatever. We'll do your thing.
And I mean, it does work.
Yeah. Well,
got-
basically, it does work because he's held as a head and just like, hey, did you love anything in your life? Not really. I was arranged married, so really I had nothing good going on. Ooh,
But he loved his
buddy.
daughter.
Yeah, he finally gets to admit, I loved my daughter. And I'm like, buddy, lead with that next time. You were just a real depressing bomb right there. He's just like, I guess I'd like to see my daughter one more time. And he's just like, cool, I can do that. We're going to go find your house.
Well, no, he sends the head
He
to
sent
the
the
address
Edward's
Oh,
sister
right.
head. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Edward's sister head to the medium.
and
Yeah.
says that she can arrange that for you. I like that. You know, this is a shonen manga. Fighting the bad guys is the general default, but I also like a series that will be like, hey, sometimes empathy is the right choice. I appreciate that personally.
Yeah, same. I enjoyed this little mini arc. And now Pastry Ghost is still here and will occasionally crop up again for more shenanigans, which is good because I like Pastry Ghost. He's fun.
It's pretty funny.
Asahiko is the guy's name.
Oh, does he have a name? Okay. I didn't remember if he introduced himself or not.
I think he did, but it never really comes up. And so
When he did it was probably around the first time he showed up, and after that, he's just Yoshimori's ghost buddy.
But now we have an arc where I thought I knew where it was going, and it kind of did, and yet it didn't, and I was thankful for the ways in which it kind of subverted my expectations, because we have poor Yoshimori. It's like I said earlier, everyone's such an asshole to this poor kid.
I mean, if he didn't deserve it half of the time, I'd be a little more empathetic,
Yeah.
I know,
I'd say
but-
half of the time is a little bit harsh, but yeah, he does earn it sometimes.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. It feels like he's just reacting. He's giving back the negativity that he's getting half of the time because we see that he's a good kid.
That might be kind of an important element because he got served with a raw deal first, and he reacted like a kid reacts when when a kid gets served with a raw deal, not well, and it's sort of been creating a feedback loop ever since.
Yeah, I'm just going to remind you, most of the characters in this story we're going to talk about are middle schoolers, with the occasional ones who aren't middle schoolers are going to be low, like underclassmen in high school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the age range of the protagonists is pretty young in this series.
Our primary characters, Yoshimori and Tokine, are heading to school, and she's like, seriously, stop following me. You're disgusting. And poor kid.
He finds this devastating.
He is blue screened. Like normally he'd fall asleep in class, but no, he's still just blue screening.
What does she mean I'm disgusting? And I'm like, why did she say that? I don't know. Probably just having a bad day, in all fairness.
Yeah,
Because-
probably.
In all fairness, he does just follow her to school, despite the fact she constantly says, don't do that.
Yeah, the thing is, he's hovering because he's being overprotective, but they're both young enough that they don't really understand why they feel the way they feel.
It is understandable why he's doing it. That doesn't necessarily
also-
make it.
Yeah, it's also
It doesn't-
understandable why she finds it annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes off as annoying little brother to me, though. Is like, hey, no, why aren't we hanging out? Why aren't we hanging? It's just like, especially from her
Yeah, I see
perspective,
that.
because she's not getting like, I have dedicating my life to. Actually, considering what we see of her insight later, she probably knows that's what he's doing and finds it more annoying because of that.
Yeah.
Our boy isn't very subtle in his cool shonen hero moments, so
And I kind of think that makes him very, very endearing because, you know, sometimes you like
Yeah.
some of those like cheesy, like, oh, there you are trying to be a very like down low protag who is trying to protect the girl, but you don't know if you like, but you totally do. And
Mr. Hard-boiled shonen hero over here.
This manga would have been unbearable if he was a dark edgelord boy. It's just like, yes, the darkness of this area, and I'm just like, no.
He sometimes thinks he's that, but reality sets in quickly enough for it to be a funny gag.
Buddy, you fight with cubes. You don't get to be cool.
There is also a bit of a fun running gag that we see in. It only happened like 2 or 3 times at most, but I feel like it's going to be a recurring gag going forward where he'll try to turn a phrase and he'll just get the words wrong. And then there'll be like a little, either a character will say afterward, did he mean, or there'll be a little narration box, he actually meant, which like, that is so real. Like, as someone who tries to turn phrases and has a prodigious vocabulary, I do that a lot. So I felt that.
In this very chapter, one of the friends, one of the other boys in his
classmate.
In this chapter, I'm not clear on, considering what we see later from an outsider's perspective, I think Yoshi actually is pretty popular. Like, I don't think he's picked on is the thing. So I think these are actually friends. Like, he seems to have a pretty good social life.
Yeah,
I think the big thing is he doesn't have time for a social life. He'd probably be a popular kid if it weren't for the fact that he was constantly awake all night fighting demons.
Well, it's also the fact that he also probably had like a lot of childhood, like he grew up with these people as well.
Yeah.
So he was probably known as that kid who slept often in class because reasons.
Because someone even points out, even though he sleeps through class all the time, people will still come up to his desk to talk to him. So it's like, he's liked.
He doesn't have the shonen protagonist trope of being like the
Edgy
bullied
loner.
outsider. Yeah.
He does sit in the shonen protagonist seat, though.
Yeah, he like again, it's very much sometimes he thinks he is that, and I think part of him wants to be, but he's not that, and the series is better for it.
He wants to be the traditional shonen protagonist and then has to be kept reminding, dude, you fight with cubes.
You fight with cubes, dude. It's not that deep. Hiromu, he's wannabe like super gossip that collects information on everybody in the school, but it apparently is not very good at it.
It's my hobby to collect information on people. Also, I sell it. Just saying.
Yeah, he's a guy, but he learns that Yoshimori knows Tokine, who is very popular among the boys in school.
And even the professors, even the teachers too. Apparently, that was a little creepy.
So yeah. I will point out, this is a line said by a middle school boy who I think a lot of this is middle schoolers being dumb is really what this comes off as.
Oh no, that's what I was going to go along a similar tangent. As he's like grilling Yoshimori for information on Tokine, and meanwhile, poor Yoshimori, he's still just trying to process being called disgusting, and also, what do you mean that professors are secretly crazy for her?
Yeah, he does have the very reasonable reaction when he hears, however much middle schoolers being dumb it is, he does have the reasonable reaction of, that's a problem. I'm gonna look into I'm gonna look into this part is not necessarily as reasonable, but
it's not the moral reason, it's the how dare he steal my girl. Wait, what? Where did that thought come from? Like, this is not an altruist behavior he's doing right now.
That's true too. That's true too.
He at least has a brief moment of self-awareness as he goes, I wonder if I'm acting prematurely. And then it immediately dovetails into, she's just going to call me disgusting again. It's like, no, hold on. You were getting somewhere there for a second with the maybe acting prematurely thing.
He ends up tailing her and sees her with a teacher who has a reputation as being a flirt, which is where I also got the not great vibes, and fortunately it kind of doesn't go in that direction. It sidesteps it enough that
the way the manga presents this situation, I don't think there's anything. Well, the fact that, spoiler alert, he's been possessed by a demon.
Yeah, that's how it sidesteps.
It is where it gets creepy. I think his natural inclination is he just knows he's the hot teacher and like is just giddy on the attention. And I'm like, you teach middle school, high school, you just acknowledge, like, that's just, you can't do much about that. He seems like a nice enough guy when he's not possessed.
Yeah.
So
he's hard. Yeah. That's sort of what I feel Sam was mentioning, and how I feel about it is that, like, once we get to his actual personality, it sidesteps all of the creepy and okay.
But anyway, since he is being possessed and being like, hey, you're totally into me, right? And she's just like, I'm gonna say something vague that if someone was listening in might misinterpret this entire scenario, but yes. And I'm like, ooh. And then he's just like, I need to warn her. That guy's gross. Oh no.
That guy, that guy's dangerous.
Well, he
But
tries
what
to.
if she likes dangerous men?
Yeah, that becomes his mental refrain for the rest of this section, which I found kind of amusing.
Not just this section too, because it pops
He
up
does,
later.
yeah, he does think that more than just in this bit. But he tries to make a teacher look bad by tripping him with Kekkai box thing.
A cube.
With the
The cube.
It doesn't work because something breaks it before he's able to trip over it. And it's like, well, before I was concerned for reasons I don't understand, now I'm concerned because I am relatively certain he's evil.
And like at this point, you're just like, okay, this chapter was called Teacher's Pet. It starts with Tokine acting weird and out of character from Yoshi's perspective. Like she said, disgusting. That's not anything, and that's something he's worried about. And then she's behaving really weirdly when it comes to this new teacher. And he's just like, oh no, she's being mind controlled. And you as the audience, I think, are supposed to be like, she's being mind controlled. He confronts her and just like, hey, there's something weird about that new teacher. And she goes, ah, yes, I'm going to be very vague and not answer your question or say anything implicit. But I am also keeping an eye on him. I'm going to meet with him later. I tried to meet with him earlier, but he wasn't in his office. I wonder where he could have been. And Yoshi's just like, what? Oh, what?
There is the element of Yoshimori's like perspective on it is, oh, she does like bad boys, whereas it was kind of obvious that she also knew he was evil and was like casing him, which later on she explicitly like, I knew I should have acted sooner.
Yeah.
Because she was totally casing him the entire time.
Because we cut to Teacher Man in an alley with a bunch of degenerate like punk kids, and they're just like, yeah, we're skipping class and we've got leather jackets on, and he's just like, yes.
You made a pass at my girlfriend, didn't you, Teach? Do you have any idea how little that narrows it down?
He's just like, hey, by the way, I'm no longer talking about the thing you wondered about. I always wondered if I could get nutrients from people anymore. And they're like, what the hell? Oh, sorry, you weren't supposed to be conscious for that. What? Ah! And they all fall unconscious. And like the manga's just like, did he just kill them? And he's just like, no, I didn't kill them because I can't eat them anymore. I need to eat the energy from the school. And then, in case you were worried they were actually dead, the next scene opens up with one of Yoshi's friends going like, hey, did you hear about all those kids that fainted? It's been happening more and more around school. And I'm like, what the hell?
What do you mean there's been a rash of kids fainting?
You guys are just continuing class when there have been large groups of people fainting wherever this new substitute teacher goes?
Hey,
they
just live in that world. Everything's happening. We could die any day, guys.
You're
Gotta
not
live
wrong,
every day like it's your last.
Considering the demon he is, I'm assuming mind control nonsense, but we don't know.
There's a little hint as to his true power during the alleyway confrontation as his shadow splits into three that lashes out at the punks. But it's only revealed later when our heroes arrive at the school to hunt him down that he is surrounded by three giant snakes. It's actually really cool looking. I dig this vibe.
And I'm like, ooh, man, you can have cool power designs. Main characters just have cubes. Okay.
Oh yeah, we see lots of cool powers in this. Our main characters just are the cube people, I guess.
In all fairness, they do have a throwaway line at the very beginning that their technique is so powerful because of how simple and easy it is to learn. Thus, you can like, you don't have to waste a lot of time. Like,
yeah, and they do use it in creative ways in some places. So it's very much the idea of like giving the main characters a simple power set so that the audience can understand how it works quickly. It's almost the same logic as like it's powerful because it's easy to learn. It's also easy for the audience to learn. And then we can be creative with the either one-off or recurring antagonists to have, something more exotic.
And I think it's really to the detriment of this manga. Probably not even fairly. Until they started doing cooler things with them, the cubes were really boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very simple. I'm like, I do like barrier magic as like a power set.
I appreciate geometric shapes. I saw
They
those
are nice
corners.
cubes.
They are very nice cubes. They make the brain do the good chemicals from seeing symmetry.
Yes.
I guess my take on it was when I first started and I saw the cubes, I'm like, is that it? And by the time I was starting to get concerned that that was all it was going to be, we start seeing them do other things with it. Like, for example, in this very confrontation, one of the things that they do is you can enclose just a part of something and then destroy the cube. And so you can like if
You
something
can
is too big to
You can dead space things.
and then other things like summoning them, you can use it to smack someone because they like raise up. So like as it was getting to the point where it's like, is this really it? That was when they started injecting a little bit more. And by the end of this section, we do get some more creative stuff, but that's a little bit later.
But anyway, they find out the teacher is not evil, but is really being controlled by a Ayakashi parasite on the back of his neck, and they're just like, yes, those parasites normally go on like spirits, like our dogs. This one must have gotten powerful enough to get on a human.
Specifically, it got on his snakes, and he has the magical power to create the snakes, and we know that they're like sympathetically linked. So getting on the snake was just about the same as getting on him, as far as the little parasite thing was concerned.
He's almost like a deconstructed Voldemort.
Oh my god.
Not wrong.
Not correct, but I guess not.
I don't follow either.
You said you had an Ayakashi on the back of your head, and he happened to attach via your snakes. Very deconstructed.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Now I see it.
Okay.
Yoshimori is able to use his incredible power to keep the snakes distracted, while Tokine uses her more controlled skills to destroy the tiny parasite, thus sparing Mr. Teacher Man, who passes out and then wakes up and is like, oh, geez, I've been a creeper, teacher? Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you for saving me. And of course, he immediately turns back into Mr. Hot Guy Teacher. Like he's honestly expressing his thanks, but it's because he's Mr. Hot Guy Teacher, it's posed in a way like he's confessing love to Tokine.
Yeah. It comes off as silly and harmless, so
So like ultimately it's fine, but
yeah, it's, I don't know. It strikes me as this is the teacher a group of girls at the middle school have a crush on, not so much.
yeah.
Oh yeah. No, again, I don't think that the teacher is malignant or a creeper, and I think the manga is playing into the joke.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it is absolutely playing into that joke and leveraging the character's age, which is a clever thing to do.
We have a brief interstitial thing where Yoshimori wants to go to a legendary and very exclusive cake joint that Bakery Ghost tells him about.
Nerd.
he was feeling despondent about his prospects of making the perfect castle cake, and the pastrier ghost is like, hey, I almost lost my passion once, but then I had this, and it's 100% a filler chapter.
Yeah,
Great filler chapter though, because it's you got to go to the back alley bakery where they have a number of seats that you have to sit in at midnight because they open at 5 a.m. And Yoshi's just like, dude, I work nights. What? This isn't gonna work. And he's just like, it's the only way you can have the world's most delicious cake. And I'm like, hold on. Well, I know we haven't mentioned this yet, but I got these little paper little minions who clean up the ground after we have fights. I didn't
they'd shown those before.
I'm saying we haven't talked about them.
Oh, yeah. Right. Okay. Yep. Fair.
Yeah. But but they also can turn into exact duplicates of me. They proceed to turn into a chubby version of him. He's like, hey, no.
I'm not that fat.
I know I'm currently desperately going after cake, but stop it. You know what? No, let's forget this whole thing. I'm not dealing with his body image issues. Let's just make it an attractive foreign man. And then it's literally a caricature of like, I am from Spain.
Did somebody call me?
He's labeled as like the Latin foreigner or something like that.
Noble Latin man.
Yeah, noble Latin man. And this is not the only appearance we will get of noble Latin man.
But
his ultimate secret technique.
But the main gist of this, which I really like, is Yoshi and Tokine are having their own like everyday adventure that we're barely even keeping contact with because we're constantly coming back to the guy waiting for the cakes because some Yakuza come and is like, hey buddy, get out of line, my girlfriend wants some cake, so I'm gonna get your seat. And then Samurai Flamenco Man comes in here and it's just like, Olay, I was told to defend myself if attacked. Meanwhile, Yoshi's just like, oh god, my duplicate's being attacked and this hurts a lot.
I'm running out of all my juice because he's getting attacked.
He's trying to keep secret from
Tokine that he's doing this.
That he has one of the Shikigami elsewhere.
And the entire time, her inner monologue is just like, he's clearly expending power on something else. This is insanely stupid, but I guess when you have buttloads of power, you can do whatever you want. She's real resentful of how much natural power he has.
She's so salty. It makes her being rude towards him make a lot of sense in character. But
it very much is the case where I feel bad usually for Yoshimori, but I can understand why some people are miffy with him at times.
The Shikigami is like, well, I'm getting beaten up by all these Yakuza. It's time. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. My secret technique, preheated oven tornado, as he sticks out his arms and spins.
I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
And it knocks out all the Yakuza. I punish useless things. Is that your catchphrase?
Probably.
Yep. And he gets the cake. But unfortunately, because Yoshi has to go to school, the cake is brought back to the house where they didn't have any sweets for tea. So Grandpa ate all the cake up. And I'm like, Grandpa, you said you hate Western desserts. That was literally your character.
He did that out of spite.
100%. He heard that his grandson brought it home, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to eat that.
Yoshimori's father is like, I tried to stop him to save some for you, but I just couldn't. He kept eating. It's okay, Dad. It's okay. There's some crumbs left. And they're the tastiest crumbs I've ever had. I'm gonna get that cake one day. This did have my favorite joke, which was the bakery ghost was late for the arranged meeting to explain the whole back alley bakery thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're a ghost. Can't you fly? Believe it or not, it's actually faster if I take the train. You're right. I don't believe that. It's time that we got back to a bit of plot as we are introduced to another character. Well, we start off with a little flashback of a young Tokine and her tragic backstory.
Yeah, this backstory, when early on Tokine's injury to her arm was off screen, because I'm like, ooh, it must have been gruesome. It must have been really gruesome considering what they show with her dad.
Uh-huh. Holy crap. We will get to that, but yeah.
Tokine absolutely has the edgy manga protagonist backstory instead of Yoshimori.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, small Tokine wants to go with her father to Kekkaishi battles, and her dad's like, nah, I've got it. I'll take care of it, but I want to help. No, okay, here's the thing. You're my daughter and I love you, so I can't bring you onto the battlefield. Wait until you're older. I'll be fine. And then flashback ends, so...
But Dad, you're incredibly weak when it comes to spiritual power. There's an argument that I'm stronger than you now. Nope, I'm gonna protect my daughter. Dad!
Yeah, he's a walking parade of death flags. It's not that hard to figure out where this is going.
We actually kind of skipped over it, but during the initial Mr. Hot Teacher arc, he's got a name, I don't remember what it is. Mino, that's it. Mino, yeah. During that arc, when Information Man is pestering Yoshimori, he says, Tokine's father is never around. Is he dead or something? And Yoshimori immediately is like, I hate guys like you that don't have any telepathy. Oh, I meant empathy.
That's one of the times where that bit happens.
It's funny. I actually just skimmed, like my brain did the auto correcting for what was expected. I didn't read telepathy, I read empathy, and it wasn't until the characters were like, did he say the wrong thing, that I had to go back and be like, oh, he said the wrong thing, what the heck.
The other thing I like is I forget what his friend said. Did he mean? And it wasn't empathy. It was another word that could be slotted in there, though I think what he meant was empathy.
This is a long way to say. We've had hints of the tragic backstory for a while now. Well, speaking of Mino, he is his 3 snakes, Roxanne, Simone, and Josephine, put on a show.
Well, they try to, but
Mhm.
yeah, Yoshi and Tokine do not care.
I'm just trying to express my gratitude that I've met folks with strange powers. I've never known anyone else who could do something like this, and you saved my life.
Well, Mino, you should sign up with the Shadow Organization, because it sounds like you haven't. And also, we care about you as much as the manga does, and are going to remember you just as fondly.
Pretty
Mhm.
much.
We're leaving now.
But no, if
And-
you leave me, I cease to exist.
Yeah, as Matt mentioned, the Shadow Organization is name dropped here. We get a better explanation of it later from the manga, but the long and short of it is that there are, as alluded to previously, a lot of people out there with weird mystic magic powers, not just the Cube crew and the Ayakashi. So the Shadow Organization is a collective, a sort of loose confederacy of people with weird powers who aren't a part of a larger, like, familial or clan-based organization.
Yeah, one thing that got mentioned in passing was that the Shadow Organization used to be something very specific. As the world had less supernatural shenanigans in it with time, they sort of, because they weren't connected to a specific family, started folding in basically anyone who had weird powers.
Mhm.
And at this point, they're sort of the liaison between all of the different people with particular powers. Even if you're not directly in the Shadow Organization, if you have powers, they probably know about you.
Yeah.
Man, I personally love the amount of hoops they jump through to be like, the Shadow Organization is not criminals. But
But
I love the logic they use. Is it something along the lines of this is explained after this arc, but it's just like, they're a beneficial point, but what they do is they have been finding work for people with special powers, because if you don't give those people something to do and feel useful, they use their powers on regular people, which is normally bad. Also, we also might be using them on regular people because the number of demons has been going down and down each year. There is just less and less of them, so we don't need an army of people to fight them. So, maybe they are doing crime.
who knows?
By the end of this arc, they frame the Shadow Organization very negatively.
It's so weird because it's an organization called the Shadow Organization, but it's like every time they're presented, it's always the grandma and grandpa going like, they are fine, upstanding organizations. We don't trust them secretly, but we won't say that out loud. And I'm like, okay, we're all just pretending here, audience included. Fine.
Yep.
Works for me.
A member of the Shadow Organization visits Tokine's family.
She's a demon tamer.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what she looks like, but it's very generic, like black kimono and like black hair. She looks like a villain. But
she looks like Erica from Pokemon Gen 1 in a goth phase.
Kinda, yeah. But her whole story is, I came here because I used to work with your dad when he was alive, and I really, really like looked up to him.
Mm-hmm.
And she's every second just constantly saying about how cool Tokine's dad was. And this is when we get the flashback from her of her dad coming home and his guts spilling out over the front of the house.
Yeah, he's soaked in blood, and because an Ayakashi got him, and it goes over to her father as he's dying, and he like reaches out a bloody hand, grabs her by the shoulder, like pulls her in close and goes, "Don't ever let your guard down," and dies in front of her. And I'm like,
Why? Why would you do that to your
Yeah.
child?
Yeah, that was my reaction.
Don't trust anyone ever.
And oh hey, what should happen? But Yoshimori's mother happened to be at the gate and saying, "Sorry, I didn't get there in time to save him, but I did kill the Ayakashi." So
Yeah, Yoshimori's mother is she's a thing because
Yeah.
I said that Yomi looks like a villain. Yoshimori's mom looks like an end boss. It's not horror at all. You get a horror setup, and then you're like, this could easily go off in a direction and do like a real like heart drop, and then it doesn't. But that setup is there, and I'm wondering if that's like a lingering thing of having worked on a different series.
To explain how gruesome Tokine's dad's death was, because
It also, yeah, sometimes scenes will just be randomly gruesome. There is clearly a tone for everything else that will sometimes be suddenly removed, like like it's a Vietnam flashback of the time I worked on a horror manga.
yeah, this reminder of her father's grim death, as one might expect, has Tokine a bit down, and so she's acting strangely during the nightly Ayakashi hunt. Yoshimori, to his benefit, tries to cheer her up with some cake.
sweets are the source of love in the world, or something to that effect. He has a mantra that's something like that.
And suddenly they sense an evil presence. And they go to chase off after the presence,
Well,
and
because-
there's no one here except Miss Yomi, who fell out of a tree.
Well, the manga is still being coy at this point. It wasn't an evil presence they sensed. They sensed that someone had tripped the like outside barrier. And I will say, from a design perspective, I didn't get villain vibes from Yomi, but the way her scenes are framed, it's not particularly subtle. She is like manga character TM, bland, like not badly designed, but very simple.
Her reveal scene that happens right here is essentially just like Yoshi's basically like, hey, I know you really liked Tokine's dad, and like he was a real cool guy. I think he was a real cool guy. Well, actually, I don't know him. I was too young when he died. I think that brings up a lot of bad memories with her. Maybe just don't mention him at all. And then she's just like, hey, I drugged you. And he's like, what? Oh, no. And it's like, by the way, I hated the weakling that was her father. And I want to get all the power here for myself. Yes, moi. And I'm like, okay. I guess that's what we're doing now.
This was revealed after the first night where she showed up of tripping the magic alarm and acted like she was just very bumbling. And it's like, why are you even here? Oh, the Shadow Organization sent me. For what?
I can't tell you why.
Secret.
Got it. Okay. You're definitely not going to betray the main characters.
Her gimmick is she like overly can't keep a secret, and I think the manga's playing that up as she's doing that to hide herself. I could also believe that just being her, though, considering how she does keep her secret. Like, no one buys them. Yeah. Like, we find out the grandparents didn't trust her, so it's like she was just bad at keeping secrets.
So it's the second night where Tokine is on the other side of the grounds from Yoshimori, who runs into Yomi and then gets knocked out and drugged, as Matt said earlier. And then giant friggin' demon.
I'm big and slow and dumb, and I want to be your friend.
He's so cute.
He is kind of cute.
He is the biggest and slowest and dumbest of the demons, and he is Yomi's friend. And Yomi's just like, he's Yoki. No, he is Yoki.
Yeah,
the girl is Yomi.
It's Yoki and Yomi. He is Yoki. She is Yomi. Yoki Yomi.
Yes, and my brain hurts.
Like, their backstory is literally, I'm such a bad demon tamer. I love the fact that her backstories are just flashbacks she's having internally, that she's not vocalizing to anyone. We are just occasionally shown her backstories. And it's just like, here is a sad story of me picking up the runt of the litter. Only in this case, the runt of the litter is a giant, slow behemoth. Hey, did you hear about the magical place that gives demons super powerful energy? We should go there, and then you'll be big and strong. And he's like, will I be smarter? Probably.
Will I be faster? will take over
I'll
this
be-
place and defeat the Kekkaishi.
Yeah, he actually wants to be smaller, not bigger.
Yeah, he's very insecure about his size. It's really interesting. It's like I didn't want to be this big, but now I'm just a big idiot, and everyone makes fun of me.
I'll be bigger and faster and stronger too.
And I'll be the first member of the DK crew.
Does he want to be smaller? I thought that was when he started getting corrupted. That was when that thought started coming into his head.
It's mentioned in passing that if he was physically smaller, he could potentially move faster.
Mhm.
He doesn't express it as like a stated goal until he starts getting corrupted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like how all boxers want to be in featherweight. Because if you're smaller, you're faster. Wait, no, all boxers want to be heavyweight because if you have more muscle mass, you can punch hard. Wait, hold on.
Look, he also said he's not very smart.
You're right.
But Tokine falls into a Team Rocket-esque pitfall trap and then gets a giant rock thrown on top of the pit in order to pin her down.
And she's just gloating that it's like, yeah, you're wondering where my hostage is? I kept him someplace safe. You'll never find him. Cut to Yoshi going like, where the hell am I? And then hits a square box out of Yoki's back, jumps out, and Yoki's just like, my back.
Well, yeah, Yoki's got a
He's
shell.
got like a big turtle shell thingy on his back, yeah. And Yoshimori breaks out of there.
There is a clever bit when Tokine is trapped by the rock. She can't use the Kekkai on the rock itself because it has charms on it. She tunnels sideways out from under it, which is pretty clever. I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah, that was cool.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, Yoshimori is just incredibly powerful, so he blasts a hole out of Yoki's back, leaps out, severs his arm, and drops down looking all cool. Now take back what you said about her father. What?
Did you seriously just pick up the conversation we had 12 hours ago?
Oh.
I've done other things since then, buddy.
I mean the monologue you were having. You were drugged!
What?
How are you even awake?
Did you also see my flashback? Yes.
Well, no,
What?
because
Mm-hmm.
Yomi was taunting Tokine.
Yeah.
That's what
That's what
Yoshimori was referring to.
Mhm.
It is one of those cases that if he can intuit what like emotional issues are from that rant as well as he does, then you got some pretty selectively strong.
I mean, I don't know. The turn this takes immediately right here, though, is kind of just like, she's just like, well, if you've escaped, I'm fighting 2-on-1. I should have just killed you. I'm gonna need more power. Come on, Yoki. Use more power. He's like, okay, I'll eat more power. Hey, didn't the power here also turn you super evil? Right, I probably should have thought about that.
Uh-oh.
I forgot all the power makes you super evil. Dang it! It's just like, okay, because he is immediately like, if I was smaller, I'd be faster and stronger. I need to cut the excess weight. And then throws Yomi away.
I just realized I don't need you anymore. Though I will say one thing that I thought was, it wasn't the obvious choice to go with, and I kind of appreciated it for it. Even after she gets betrayed by Yoki, Yomi is still like trying to help him and is okay with this because what she wants is for him to be happy. And even if he's evil,
she wants him to be strong because that means making fun of a weakling is. She's got a whole complex that.
Yeah.
It's a lot deeper than that. But we skipped over my favorite part, which is at some point in the scuffle, Tokine takes Yomi hostage, and she's got a kunai, because she's got a kunai out with her at all times, to her throat, and just goes, I'm keeping you hostage. If you don't talk to him, or else what? I'll take you hostage. And I'm like, no, the or else is threatening to kill them. What is your bargaining here? You've already got her hostage.
She's a kid.
Or else I'll continue holding you with this knife to your throat. That's not a bargaining position.
and to be fair, it does result in her losing that bargaining position almost immediately.
Yeah, but
how did he know where we were? I'm his demon tamer. Of course I can speak telepathically to him.
Yep. But then the betrayal happens and it quickly turns into Yoshi fighting bigger, I'm smaller, more slender, but equally as powerful, or infinitely more powerful, I suppose.
Yeah,
But
he's getting progressively stronger the longer he's
also,
there.
he heals like instantly now. He gets his hand shot off a few times.
We have a real Bloodborne ass panel where after throwing Yomi away, Yoki like stands up because he's been like kind of crouched like a frog this entire time. He stands up to his full height and howls, and like he is shrinking, but like his form is becoming darker as like he's condensing all of his power together, and it's actually really menacing.
Yeah, I love his like evil form design. It is intentional, and in most cases, I think to its benefit. But Kekkaishi has an extremely simple art style. It's stripped down and relatively plain looking. But like, boy, they the mangaka goes real ham on
when the panels like this,
Yoki's like evil form.
Mm-hmm.
Yoki's evil form in particular, but there are a couple of places where it really dials the art up.
Yeah, it's some quality shonen action bait after
the emotional bits, yeah.
After the, frankly, from my perspective at least, shaky emotional bits. It's justification for this cool fight.
Yeah.
Which ends with Yoshi's just like, hey, I know she really cares about this demon. I'm gonna desperately try not to kill him. He just needs to get out of here. Everyone's just like, that's a terrible idea. In fact, even his dog's just like, that's a terrible idea. Normally I'm like making fun of you, but on your side, still a terrible idea.
Mamoru usually thinks that Yoshi's ideas are not necessarily great ones, but in this case, she's like, no, that's really stupid, and I'm gonna put my paw down and say, don't do that.
I just remembered both the dogs died in this fight too.
Yeah, they both got eaten by Yoki.
It doesn't matter because they're ghost dogs. Basically, it comes to the conclusion of he realizes he can't destroy the parts, but like the Ayakashi's still too big to fit in a single cube. So he's like, I can hold everything but the head. Don't move around or you might rip your head off. And he's just like, we're going to talk you down slowly. And then the shadow organization walks out of the forest going like, we were here all the time. We're going to take back our rogue operative. What? Just kills the demon.
I'm throwing
an odd job hat.
I'm throwing
an odd job hat.
I'm throwing glowing blades of energy and also a fireball. We look like generic monks. And I'm like, cool. I'm glad we invested in these characters winning the fight.
Well, the first one is like an odd job hat that splits Yoki's head down the middle. But that still doesn't kill him. He's still like slurping back together.
Yeah, that's when we get the magic energy discs and
the fireball.
And one thing that had been established is no matter how much you beat up and cube explode demons, if there's any of them left, they have the potential to reform, especially in that location because of the natural magical energy. So the staffs that they carry can like suck them up and send them to another dimension.
Banish them to the Shadow Realm, yeah.
Basically.
And they suck him up into the Shadow Realm to banish him, except for a little itty-bitty tiny bit that Yoshimori grabs.
Then hands to Yomi as she's... From his point of view, she just got arrested and is being walked away, and they don't care that he just walks straight up to her and hands her a demon.
Yeah, that's...
Okay, so I'm not going to defend this because this is more naivete than empathy, but like what it's going for is it shows that the reason he went bad was because he got drunk on power, not because he's inherently bad. But at the same time, given how she reacted even when he was evil, she's just gonna do this again.
Well,
if she ever gets out.
We get a flashback, which is weird, because that means her entire character growth has been internal, because she's not expressed any of this backstory to other people.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's just like, people made fun of her because she was a weak demon summoner who could only summon one demon, and the demon she could summon was weak. That's why she hated Tokine's father, because he was weak, but he still was happy about it. She couldn't be happy about how weak she was. So that's why she wanted to, like, spite their family name by getting her demon super drunk on the magic power. But now that I have my demon back, who I love how Yoshi just goes, he's probably too small to ever be reformed into a full demon. I'm like, buddy, you don't know that. You have established you know like nothing about how demons work. You did not study this.
Yeah.
Considering the next chapter is you asking basic questions, I think that's a fair assumption.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, and she gets, and it's a heartwarming thing, but like from my point of view, I'm like, well, I don't really feel like she learned a lesson.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I get what it's going for. It doesn't hold up to scrutiny.
It would make more sense if Yoshi had heard her telling him this.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen, so he's just giving her back the gun she tried to shoot him with.
Yeah, I think the idea is that she was vocalizing some of the stuff through what she was saying, but
I mean,
what would have made it obvious to Yoshi was not verbalized. So either it's like, is he intuiting that? Because I don't think he's that intuitive.
Considering we had an entire chapter on him misunderstanding basic feelings from his childhood friend, that's definitely not a character trait.
Yeah, the chapter immediately before, on top of everything.
I mean, I'm going to be super generous to Yoshimori here and say, in that preceding chapter, Tokine was, intentionally trying to be deceptive. Whereas Yomi is like screaming and crying during this. So it's kind of hard to miss. I admit that I'm giving this way too much slack. So
yeah, it does.
I'm like, I know you're going for heartwarming manga. I know you're going for the like forgiveness and empathy angle, and I appreciate that. I see what you're going for. I just think you miss.
Yeah.
I am like normally the one who will defend forgiveness like well beyond when other people have dropped it. But like in this situation, she hasn't learned anything. You aren't forgiving her. You're just
giving her back the gun.
You are forgiving her is the problem, but I don't feel she's deserved it. So
yeah.
And it's just like Yoshi's entire personality is, I forgive you, starving wolf that's just going to attack me the second I open the cage. Oh, wait, no, hold on. I see what the problem in my thinking is.
Yeah. I feel like that's pretty much the consensus on this.
Mm-hmm. And that is a little bit more than half, but about halfway through our reading. So we are going to take ourselves a quick break here, and we will rejoin you all in just a moment. And welcome back, everybody. Where last we left off, our heroes had just defeated the demon Yoki, and then it proceeded to give it straight back to its master. Yeah.
Which was totally a great decision. Yes.
The best one that could have possibly been made, sure.
Meanwhile, Yoshi's going to reveal how unprepared he is for this job as he asks base questions about the world he's in.
Yeah, after the grandparents squabble like children again. We haven't really talked about it, but Yoshi's grandpa and Tokine's grandma just squabble like kids all the time.
I think they're secretly into each other.
Yep. You don't understand. They actually had a like forbidden love for each other, and they were told they couldn't be together because of their families. But actually,
they're cousins.
Yes.
Oh, I don't like that.
Well, I mean, who knows?
You're
I mean,
right. They're not siblings, so Jacob's not into.
They're like third cousins.
Why have I suddenly been ascribed this personality trait? I didn't come up with Cis Confidential. You did.
Anyway, Yoshimori asks his grandpa the very reasonable question of, what are you doing out here half naked first thing in the morning yelling? I was having a rub down when that old bag started splashing water all over me.
Yeah, this situation is so weird.
Yeah.
You were having a rub down? Why are you spraying it with water? Oh, I was just watering my plants and I happened to miss. Why would I water the top of his head? Nothing grows there.
Burn.
I just saw some shirtless old man in the backyard, and I was just like, he needs to get wet. And I'm like, ooh.
Granny, Granny, hold on.
This manga is taking a turn I am not about.
Meanwhile, Tokine and her mom are just like, we'll never be able to stop them. Just they'll calm down sooner or later.
Just ignore it.
Meanwhile,
so-
Yoshi's dad is just like, I can't stop them from fighting. They're going to destroy the house.
Please, I'm just trying to make breakfast. You have to stop them.
as much as it is very much Yoshi, you seem to not know some basic things about the business that you're in. It is actually a pretty clever way of delivering exposition to the audience, because it does really make sense that he wouldn't know these things, because he didn't want to be a part of this at the time period when they would have been teaching him.
Yeah.
So
like,
a bunch of things going over his head kind of makes sense.
what is the Shadow Organization? Well, it's the place your mom works. That's why she's never here.
But yeah, and this is when it's explained to him that the organization is basically the outcasts of the magical world banding together, as we talked about earlier. And we get some really cool like monster designs and like the descriptions. It seems incredibly interesting, and I look forward to having more of it be or having more of it show up, because it does kind of add a new layer of excitement to the mystical element of this, other than just Cube and Monster of the Week.
And like the one thing I really appreciate is because what it does set up is Yoshi's suddenly like questioning his environment. And as he's coming to school, he's talking to Tokine, and he's just like, yeah, I never really noticed how weird everything is. And she's like, you never noticed how weird our school is. Ugh. And then he's just like, what was that about? She says the exact line, you have no idea how dark the secret really is, or something to that effect. And he's just like, what? Can't you just tell me?
This site is so much more frightening than you can imagine.
And then he's in school just like, I don't even know. And then his friends are like, wait, you've never realized how weird the school is? And he's just like, not really. He's like, what season do you think it is? Fall? Then explain the cherry blossoms. And he's just like, what do you mean? Also, what do you mean we've had 3 falls this year?
I mean, he's been sleeping through class. It makes sense he is very
Rip Van Winkle
disoriented.
over there. I've slept through a year. I went to bed, it was fall.
I woke up, it was still fall.
He's operating on like coffee-fueled frenzy after only getting maybe 4 hours of sleep a night. He's probably a little loopy.
Buddies, I gotta let you know, I've been drinking coffee milk since I was 5. I don't sleep. The entire world is an unending haze of constantly caffeine-fueled fever dreams.
That's like me, but for Coca-Cola. Yoshi is sort of like, he always sort of passively understood that it was weird, but now he's thinking more about it, because he's getting more invested in this job, and now he's sort of asking the questions that he should probably already know. But again, I think it's a clever way of delivering exposition to the audience, because obviously we're not going to know about that, and instead of getting a text dump, we're getting characters talking to each other about it.
What I really appreciate from the clever exposition is the shift it does right here, because Yoshi's like going through some introspective, like, oh, I guess I'm gonna think about stuff and relook it, and rather than following him do that, the point of view shifts to a random passerby who's just like, this girl who's just like, it sure is weird that there's cherry blossoms when it's about to be winter.
And who's that girl in the old-fashioned school uniform underneath the tree? No one's paying attention to her except that weird boy from my class.
She points out somebody with a school uniform that isn't from this school, and it's really old-fashioned, and her friend is like, what are you talking about? And she's like, never mind. And she thinks to herself, oh, I mentioned something out loud, weird again.
Yeah, I actually really like this, because it has a bit of a fridge logic situation to it. Of Yoshimori is we've had it said several times by other characters. He's got, Shonen Pro tag. His raw power level is so high, it's amazing. And so he has just kind of been able to just brute force his way through everything. He's never really had to learn exactly how dangerous things are. So it's kind of scary in its own way that he's just able to flatten problems so much that he hasn't paid attention to the weird stuff and in fact finds it normal. That in itself is frightening. And it explains why poor Yuria sees him and is like convinced he's a demon.
There's also a bit with he's trying to convince the ghost to leave the school because you will turn evil if you stick around, and obviously the ghost doesn't like that at first, so he rolls a nat 20 on his intimidation check.
But you're the only one who can hear me. Someone has to listen to my story. Everyone should. I'll make everyone listen to me. As he grabs her by the throat. If you don't get out of here, I will terminate you. Okay.
Irina's just behind the corner going like, oh my god, he's choking out that ghost.
Which, yeah, again, is pretty freaky.
And like she's watching him in class, and he's like grinning and you know,
scribbling in his notebook and
himself. So she looks into like she sneaks back into class during like lunch or something and looks at the notebook.
And it's just his blueprints for his cake castles.
And
is it written in a code? What does sugar 100 milligrams mean? Or not even milligrams, 100 grams of sugar. Quite a bit.
Cakes are sweet, bro.
Yeah, he likes his sweets.
There's just a fun parade of goofy shenanigans like that. Mm-hmm. I really like Irina.
Yep. Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun perspective shift.
Basically, the whole conflict of this is her friends are just like, hey, we want to go check out the cherry blossoms, but that kid's being weird. How about we go check them out at night?
We want to go check out the cherry blossoms, but all the high schoolers got here first. Let's come back here at night. That way it'll be all to ourselves. And Yoshimori, who is just sitting behind a tree drinking his coffee milk, suddenly leaps out of a bush, leaves in his hair like, this place is dangerous at night. Never do such a foolish thing as coming here, especially near the cherry tree. Bye. And then he just walks away.
Yeah, because it is mentioned in passing that the reason why the cherry blossoms are blooming for the tree is because extra magical power is condensing there.
I think it was because the original lord that owned the palace the grounds were on was particularly fond of the cherry blossoms.
And they say the sakura tree is gonna bloom regardless of anything they do. Like, you can't cut the tree down. It's just going to grow again. It's just going to be there. That is as much a part of this place as the power and everything. Like, it is a symptom.
Yeah. So Yoshimori is waiting under the tree for presumably for some Ayakashi to show up when Irina runs up and is like, it's the weird boy. Why is he dressed as a monk? What's going on? It's a very fun scene of him, being brash hero man, telling her to get out of here.
Get out of here. I already sent your friends away. What? Oh, we don't have time. Quick, get in the invisible cube you can't see because you're a normie. Why are you putting me into a cube?
I already sent your friends away. Did you kill them? By send them away, did you mean send them to hell? What? No, of course I didn't kill them.
And like Tokine is like sitting in the tree like
This is a really bad idea. You shouldn't be doing this.
I told her to get away. It's not my fault that she showed up and now the Ayakashi are here. Anyway, she can't see what's going on. We're just waving our hands around. Let's destroy these monsters. Meanwhile, she is in the cube, freaking the hell out at the shonen action battle before her.
There's a point when one of the Ayakashi is like scratching on her box.
And Mamoru eats it, clearly notices that she can notice, and just gives this like bloody mouthed grin and crunches down.
Does
like,
not tell anyone.
Humans are interesting.
Yeah.
Let's mess with them a little bit.
Yeah, she takes pride in knowing she's freaking out this girl.
I mean,
the two dogs, they're never framed as like potential antagonists, but like they are also they're basically friendly Ayakashi, so they do have a bit of a mean streak to them.
Mm-hmm.
They have personalities that are distinct and not just,
Yeah, they're
literal dogs.
yeah.
Yeah, I like them a lot. Yoshimori's being chastised for using too much energy, and he's like, it's a swarm of them. I'm just gonna blow them all up.
It's faster this way.
And then
Yeah.
Tokine is just like, I don't care if it's faster. They're just going to keep coming as long as there's blossoms. Getting rid of this batch all at once isn't worth not having any energy for the rest of the night.
Shonen battle ensues.
It's actually a very low stakes battle too, because they're never worried.
I actually like the way that Yoshimori wins this fight. He throws up a big Kekkai around the entire tree, and that causes the swarm of spirits to kind of cluster around the top as they're gnawing on it, like, let us through. And then he throws up a second one around all of them since they've so conveniently clustered in one place, and boom!
The thing about this situation and the reason why Yoshimori wasn't more concerned about getting rid of the civilians as quickly as possible was because they know that this is going to attract a massive amount of Ayakashi, but they also know that the overwhelming majority of them are incredibly weak. So it's going to be a swarm of mostly harmless things that, as long as they get rid of them fast enough, aren't a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the fight is relatively casual, because most of this, it is to some extent from Yoshi's perspective because he's the protagonist, but a lot of this little arc is from Irina's perspective.
Mm-hmm. And we have another great scene where she's like, he's summoning those boxes and destroying the things in them. And wait a minute, I'm in one of the boxes. And Yoshimori's like, oh, I forgot. Wandering over, and this like menacing image of him pointing at her. It's like, he's gonna kill me. Box dissipates. Hey, get out of here.
She's crying with fear, and he's like, what's going on? What's the matter? You can leave now. Tokine is absolutely raking him over the coals for it.
And it's revealed, oh, she could see everything that was happening. Oh my god, I am so sorry. I did not mean to immediately throw you feet first into the deep end of this magical world thing. I am so sorry. Look, I don't really have time to explain. Here, take one of my little shadow puppets.
It's a real cute scene. I like it.
Yeah, should have bought her dinner first. Jeez.
Yeah, her reaction to holding hands with the shadow puppet thing is a little
She's traumatized until she accepted it, and it's just like, this is my life now.
I'm gonna be honest. I felt more romantic tension between her and Yoshi than I ever did with Tokine.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, like, there is the element of Tokine has a bit of a like jealous aside panel. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, even though the childhood friends thing is where I'm pretty sure this is going, I would be more than on board with Irina being the romantic lead of the story.
And anyway, the stinger for this is the reveal at the end with her two friends at school the next day going like, hey, why didn't you show up? We went there and there was this super weird foreign Latin guy. He was super attractive.
And then he started spinning.
Oh my god, he looks like Fulgore from Zatch Bell.
Oh my god, you're right.
That's a deep cut.
Yep.
Zatch Bell isn't that deep cut.
Oh, fair. But yeah, that's the end of the point of view from a third party on how weird their lives actually are. She leaves with going like, hey, could you keep this all a secret? I wouldn't tell anyone about this. They'd think I'm crazy. And he's like, oh, yeah, I guess.
Well, I mean, she's already had to partially hide her. She's aware that she sees stuff that people don't pick up on. So she's like, I'm already used to keeping stuff secret. I mean, people already would think I'm weird.
Yeah. And this is where we get Yoshi's line about like, maybe I'm just at the point where everything weird just seems normal to me.
Yeah, that's a pretty good assessment.
Kind of like to juxtapose the fact that we just had this whole thing about how their lives are weird. We then just get a day in the life of part 1.
Yep.
Which should have been a warning that a day in a life is the name for 3 chapters that are part 1, part 2, part 3.
The last few chapters that we did the reading on, is it does kind of show just an average day for Yoshimori as he is doing his training and being berated by his grandpa for not being good enough at his training, despite the fact that he's trying, you old geezer asshole.
When I was your age, I was breaking stones back and right. I'm like,
I shattered that giant stone easily, the one that you just lifted with your Kekkai.
And then he thinks to himself, it's actually just a shell of rock and an iron core inside. It's literally impossible to break.
I could never break something like that. The fact that he lifted it for a whole 10 seconds is actually really impressive, but I can't let him know that.
now just unrelated vocabulary lesson. Everyone look up Chekhov's gun.
Like, Grandpa, you are such an asshole.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Oh, the rock is being set up as something that will come up again later.
Yeah. And something that will break later. As Yoshimori is like, interesting. Well, in that case, I'll break this rock within a week and 2 more like it in a month. How's that? Yeah, okay, kid, whatever. You still suck.
He would honestly be holding the banner of Yoshi sucks.
Yeah.
Point
Oh, yeah.
blank.
Builds character.
By the way, put up a soundproof Kekkai when you're doing your training. It'll disturb the neighbors. When have you literally ever cared about disturbing the neighbors? Just do it!
Our neighbors are the family you hate.
The family you frequently beat the crap out of very loudly in the morning.
In addition to the training, we also get a very monster of the week, Ayakashi.
Yeah, it's essentially they're killing a whole bunch of like regular ones, and he's just like, oh, another small one, I'll take care of it. But this one is different. It's a weird ice hedgehog fox that can shoot a giant crystal capable of piercing his Kekkai.
Also known as the ultimate Ayakashi. And I want it.
Yes.
I want one.
It is very cute. I do like
It's a fox, it's ice, and it reminds me of Sandshrew, and I'm just like, yes.
They chase
and it
this
run around
thing.
super fast.
Yeah, they chase this thing around the school, and like Tokine has a little bit of a story arc in here, in that she's watching Yoshi just run around like wasting power, because she's like, she knows he's got it, and he's like choosing to just like it freezes itself underneath the pool at one point, and he just starts blowing up parts of the pool, and she's just like, I would be out of energy if I even was doing half of what you're doing.
It's because she has to be more strategic because she has a limitation on her power, whereas he is just a bottomless pit.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
He's a giant hammer, and she's a needle.
That's actually their code names for each other.
But there is a pretty cool moment where we have had it established at this point that Yoshi's Kekkai are really powerful and very difficult to break. And it's only like major boss monsters that have broken it. And then all of a sudden, the little fox thing shoots a like piercing blast that almost headshots him. It's like, oh
yeah, it's
crap.
it's like the thing that makes this one unique enough to be a character in a chapter is that it's not necessarily like particularly physically strong, but its attacks like pierce. So it can basically bore through Kekkai. It wouldn't normally have the raw power to punch through. There's also a bit of a running gag where wherever it steps, it creates ice.
Since Yoshi's just straight running after it, he keeps stepping on patches of ice and falling on his head. I fell for another one of its clever traps. I don't think it's setting traps.
Yeah, Tokine is like, I'm pretty sure you're just being a clumsy idiot. I don't think it's that smart. There is actually a section in the aforementioned pool bit where it is actually explicitly setting traps, but there's a bit of a running gag of he just keeps falling on ice.
Yeah, Tokine is kind of just like keeping an eye on it and watching it and waiting for it to get into a position she can act on. Meanwhile, Yoshi's just like scaring it out of the brush, essentially, with like loud explosions.
So this thing's style is to parry every attack with a bigger counterattack. Well, I can do that.
Mm-hmm. And then, as if all the romantic tension you guys have been talking about was concentrated in this one section of a chapter, she jumps down as he's about to dodge with his Kekkai around him, because he's just like, well, if it shoots, it's gonna pierce through and I can't stop it. And she's like, no, hold on. Let me help, and then reaches around him as if she's teaching him guitar, and just goes, yeah, this is how you do a Kekkai.
Yeah, I think
now breathe with me.
Yeah, I think the best way of putting it is the trope flags that were carrying almost all of the romantic tension between the two of them until this chapter, where they actually had something that made it feel like they have have more direct chemistry than just the childhood best friend trope that they both are.
Essentially, it's especially more romantic because her lesson she is teaching him is that you don't have to be so stiff and hard all the time. Sometimes you can loosen it up a little.
Mm-hmm. That's what she said.
Phrasing.
That's what happens.
Yep. Doing the whole, like, coaching him through it. She creates a more pliable Kekkai that absorbs the blow and then catapults the big ice shard back at the Ayakashi in a very cool rebound attack. It one-shots itself. Yeah, the rebound attack just smacks it in the friggin' face. And then they bicker as they're heading.
An ice attack hit her feet.
Mhm.
And she's saying that she's fine. And in all honesty, I believe her because one of Yoshi's defining character traits relative to her up to this point has been being overprotective.
But then we cut back to, I think it's a few days later because he's like been training repeatedly and like figuring out the density. He has now gotten the rock, the boulder essentially, on top of one of his Kekkai, and then starts with the like elasticity he trained with to create like essentially a trampoline that is bouncing the boulder higher and higher until it's like several stories above his backyard, and he's just like, now drop it on something hard. And then puts a Kekkai down that when it smashes in, shatters it along the inside and it creates like an earthquake sound everywhere.
Basically a meteor by that point.
Yeah, because the boulder crashes back down into the ground, destroys the garden, and shakes the entire estate for both families.
And Grandpa's just like, you destroyed the garden! And then Yoshi's just like, hold on, what is that metal thing inside the boulder?
Hey, what's that black metal peeking through the cracks in the rock? Shut up!
And then we get a great scene of Tokine like casually observing this and just goes, Yoshi, you have so much power that if you just had a little bit of technique, you could do so much. Well, I guess I better train harder. And then we cut to see what she's done, and she has made like an intricate lattice of individual small Kekkai. And I'm like, oh, geez.
Yeah, she's out here playing Tetris. That is the end of our reading. So moving on into the discussion sections, favorite character and favorite fight. For me, it's while I really do like Tokine, I think that she's a very fun character. A lot of the enjoyment, for me at least, that she brings to a scene is like how she's advancing
the character development.
Advancing the character development. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Thank you, Jacob. In terms of just the most fun, I really like Mamoru. Mamoru is cool. His weird dog spirit is kind of a jerk. It has mischievous goblin energy. I really like Mamoru. So I would say Tokine for like plot reasons, Mamoru for just enjoyable character. And favorite fight. I did really like the little ice hedgehog thing because it was, for one, very cute little enemy design. And I liked the interplay between our two heroes of extreme power and extreme precision, and them needing to stop bickering long enough to work together on that was fun. Matt, favorite character, favorite fight?
I think I'll go offhand pick. I really liked Masahiko, the dead baker. Every time he showed up, I thought he was really fun. I felt like a lot of characters were too serious, and he had like that energy that really just like lit up the mood. He's part of like my two favorite story arcs we went over, so those are good. Favorite fight? Honorable mention to Scissor Salaryman, even though that fight barely lasted any amount of time, but I just liked his like little monologue. I'm gonna go with the Cherry Blossom fight as they're taking out those things and Urina's watching them, because you got a lot of cool action scenes from both of them, and it was like really kind of just them showing off, and the art kind of reflected that. I really enjoyed.
Indeed. Jacob, favorite character, favorite fight?
So the meme is always that I say that the dog character is my favorite, but actually, no joke, Mamoru is also my favorite character. for many of the same reasons that Sam mentioned. Like we didn't mention her much, but that's mostly because she's sassy side commentary, and I felt that I've already misplaced the name of the pastry ghost, but I enjoy him a lot too. But Maruro's just there more often, so she has more moments, and also she is a dog and therefore superior. But I also definitely want to shout out a very close second, a character that I really loved in the moment, but it wasn't until that we were talking about that I really realized how much I loved her. Irina is, I really hope that she's a recurring character and like plays a role in the story, because the way that she interacted with the spiritual world was just really fun, and her like melodramatic freaking out about everything. In a lot of cases, it injected a lot of humor into it, but it was also a vehicle for some sincere moments that really endeared me to her. So definitely a very close second to Maduro. As for favorite fight, as much as I liked the Yoki fight, and I think that Yoki's particularly evil design was spectacular, and there was some pretty cool strategy in that. I also have to say that the fight with the ice hedgehog thing is my number one. The aesthetic of that enemy carries a lot of it, but it was also just a fun, little shonen battle, and was the most creative I've seen the series be with its protagonist's powers. It really whet my appetite for seeing how much further they could take this extraordinarily simple and plain looking power. It, to some extent, kind of feels a little bit like the art style. If you were to give it a glance and not really think about it, one could probably be disparaging about the art and saying that it's like simple and generic. But the more you look at it, the more you realize, no, this is done very much with intention. And the powers kind of feel the same way to me, especially where we left off. We left off at like a really good spot of, okay, you've sold me on this power set now. I'm interested to see where this goes.
All right. And Jay, favorite character, favorite fight?
So my favorite character, pretty nostalgic for Tokine. She was like my go get 'em girl, and I really resonated with her because at the time I didn't really resonate with a lot of the male protagonists because they were very headstrong and like, I guess, not really methodical or strategic, and I like to think I would be more strategic, so I kind of resonated more with Tokine, so her perspective I really kind of vibed with, so she's my favorite character. Close second have to be the ice fox, because cute.
Yes. I want a plush of that.
Yes. So favorite fight, I would have to say it would have to be Yoki Yomi, just because I thought it was so, as chaotic as it was so cute derpy, and I just really enjoyed it. It had a lot of good moments and a lot of interesting scenes, even though the dialogue and even this, I guess, motivations weren't really that solid or really seemed a little too chaotic in there, but yeah.
Before Yoki became, super demon mode, a lot of the damage that it suffered had a kind of a pratfall energy to it, despite, the dismemberment. So
yeah,
I agree. It visually it was both awesome and funny in a good mix.
Yeah, I think that is an easy to love section in spite of its flaws. At least that's how I feel about it.
Indeed. And would you continue reading? I think I would. During the earlier chapters of this, I wasn't too gripped. It was like we've said a few times, the power set is very boring at the beginning, but by the end, I was seeing the creative uses of it. We were getting some more tantalizing glimpses of the wider world. I'm very interested to find out more about the Shadow Organization and Yoshimori's mom. And, the characters are fun, even if everybody is an asshole to Yoshimori, and he only sometimes deserves it. It is a fun dynamic. I found myself not being... the dynamic didn't grate as much as I thought it would at first blush when I saw, grouchy grandpa and teasing rival and et cetera, et cetera. Let's see. We will go in reverse order. Jay, would you continue reading?
As I mentioned, I first was introduced to the series via the anime when it was being aired on Adult Swim. I really enjoyed the anime. I would say that the manga was, if I'm recalling, like it was a revisit for me, but if I'm recalling, it was a little, it focused more so on the family unit for Yoshi. And I actually meant to bring this up earlier, but actually it was really interesting hearing Jacob's points about how he found the dynamic between Grandpa and Yoshi to be grating, because that's kind of where I really, really enjoyed. And I also kind of enjoyed the sense that Yoshi was supernaturally, or however he is selected to be the rightful heir, and the whole story of the sense of duty really resonates with me. And I actually really enjoy characters who have to, yes, it is imposed, but there is a sense of respect and duty that I think I really enjoyed with the older manga. Some other manga that I've read in the past, I really enjoyed that dynamic. So that's just a personal preference for me. That's kind of why I think I gravitated more toward it. My point is to say, I really enjoyed the anime. I enjoyed the sections that we read, but I don't think I would continue reading in this form. It just didn't instill the same excitement, I guess.
You got your fill of it.
Yeah.
All right, Jacob, would you continue reading?
So, heck yeah, I'd continue reading. There is that element of it is 100% a personal belief system of me not liking Destiny forcing a character into something that they don't want, and the story siding with that. I'm much more inclined to like when Destiny gets defied, or when Destiny is merely a starting point, et cetera, et cetera. Like, even the grandpa who I loathe, you're supposed to dislike him. So it's not like I said, that doesn't really like hurt my enjoyment of the series. And as much as this definitely shows its age, because it very much wears its tropes on its sleeve, pretty much all of the tropes that it wears on its sleeves are ones that I like. So yeah, I definitely continue reading. This is definitely the kind of thing that I kind of wish I caught the anime, because this kind of feels like a comfort series to me in a lot of ways. Stakes that are, middle school, so high enough stakes that you can get invested, but pretty light and breezy and nothing really that serious.
And Matt, would you continue reading?
I think I've been hemming and hawing on this like the entire time we've been talking about it. I think I'm gonna go with no, mainly because there are parts I really enjoyed. Like basically I said earlier, everything when he interacted with Ghost, I thought was really fun and refreshing. It kind of reminds me of like early Bleach, early Yu Yu Hakusho, like that kind of dynamic. But then like that comparison also in my head is like, wait, no, I know what happens to shonens that have those. They go off into the power battle. And the problem was every time we had like them versus a big monster, I found that lacking. Like the designs for Yoki are cool. I felt like that battle was it ended anticlimactically, and like there's a lot of setups that I didn't really enjoy. I think if I saw this in an anime, it'd be easier to follow, because you'd see like the cubes coming out and maybe that would look cooler. But like in the manga, I was just like, okay, yeah, a cube appeared. And like, this is purely because I'm like, I think what's going to happen is they're going to do more and more, because they're introducing the Shadow Organization. There's probably going to be people with powers and they're going to fight. And from what I've seen, I haven't seen like a big action set piece battle that really made me go, yeah, this is a shonen I want to keep following. Which is a shame, because like the lighter hearted stuff I really enjoyed. Like the training arc, really enjoyed that. Like that's why I'm so on the fence, is the day in the life of. I really liked that battle, because that was a nice, like, we got to figure this out. We got to work together. Like, this is some cool use of our powers. The problem was that was like right at the end of the reading. So if I have to make the decision based on what we read, I'm just like, I'm still on the fence. And if I have to pick a side to fall on, I'm going to fall on the side that I think this might just keep going in a direction I don't want. So
that's fair.
I don't know. I won't continue reading. It's not really a quality thing other than the Yoki arc, which I think I voiced my problems with.
Even the people who were defending it agreed that was a completely fair and accurate assessment.
Yeah. All right. And thank you everyone so much for once again tuning in to the Over Manga Cast. Make sure to follow us on all your social medias where we are at Over Manga Cast, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, we are on YouTube where you can like, comment, and subscribe. It's a good way to leave your thoughts on individual episodes. I don't know, put us on a playlist and leave your web browser open while you go to work. It's good for the retention on the algorithm.
Yep. And as always, like this episode, again, thank you, Firebringer from Germany, for recommending we read this. It was a good read. I'm glad you did. And if you would have something you would like to recommend us, we'll definitely consider it. And sometimes we'll have a backlog of spring shows coming out that we desperately try and get through. And then 2 months later, we'll finally get around to the request. But we'll get there.
We will get there in time. And of course, we always appreciate reviews on your podcatcher of choice. And make sure to tune in next week where we are going to be, Jacob, I know this is something that you've been looking forward to us reading.
Anime Janai, because it's the manga Crossbone Gundam, volumes 1 to 3.
I mean, by that definition, it's not anime Janai then. It's manga.
Yeah, no, Anime Janai, it's manga. Anime Janai is it's not anime.
This is real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna get some Mobile Suits in, so make sure to read Mobile Suit Gundam Crossbone volumes 1 through 3 if you want to keep up with the pod, and we'll see you next Thursday. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Wash your butts.
Oh my God, why?